Yeah, so Maris is out. That's the biggest news that came from the press conference. Let's also talk about the fact that this is the first time we've heard Brian Kelly talk about the whole Marcus Freeman is the next head coach. I'm going to let you kind of take this one, Brian. Here's the softball for you. Go.
Yeah, he was asked about it, and I'm surprised it took as long into the press conference as it did for him to actually be asked about it. I figured it'd be something that people would ask about early, and I think it says a lot about the Notre Dame beat that the people that are actually, professionals didn't run with this thing,
right?
Like some of the fan sites did, and some of the people that don't cover the team on a day-to-day basis, because we all knew. This is why we tried to kind of throw some cold water on this when it came out. So, he could have been talking about that, but most likely was talking about something else. And that's what Brian Kelly said that he was doing. They were talking about race in America, and it was more about he's going to be the next black head coach, is what he said. He wasn't talking about Notre Dame, and he made sure to make that clear. Now, again, that doesn't mean that Marcus Freeman isn't going to be the next head coach.
Right.
That's to be determined. That's not what Brian Kelly was saying. And I don't think this is Brian Kelly slipping up and then having to walk it back. I don't think that's what this is. Again, this is what, like Vince said, do you really think Brian Kelly's going to break that news at a golf outing in June or whenever that was,
right.
Wearing a pink shirt and talking about race in America? He's just going to, oh, by the way, it's a great time to let everybody know that Marcus Freeman is going to be the next head coach of Notre Dame. That's not what it was.
No.
So he was able to clear that up, and it's kind of what we thought it was going to be. So,
right.
Yeah.
So there you go. You heard it here first.
We didn't heard it here first, but
you heard some rational thought here. Let's just put it that way.
And, but I'll give credit. So I don't read a lot of other sites, but I did reach out to some people to say, hey, are you guys actually covering this? And everybody was, kind of the people that do this that to me on a more, and I'm not trying to be too insulting of some people. There are some sites I'm trying to insult, one in particular. But most of the people kind of handled it sort of rashly. But that's what happens in this Twitter age, right? Something comes up that was said a month or two ago. I mean, he clearly wasn't. It's not like Brian Kelly left the middle of fall camp, went to some golf outing. This is something that happened months ago. And it resurfaces because they aired it on the Golf Channel. Somebody saw it, and then it just spreads like wildfire. And then people who live on social media turn it into a thing that it wasn't, and that's just the nature of social media. But again, this doesn't mean he won't be the next head coach. It just means that's a to be determined thing.
Yeah, if and when Brian Kelly decides to announce that Marcus Freeman is his successor, right? Mm-hmm. It won't be on the Golf Channel, number one. It won't be in a roundtable discussion, number two. And there'll be a heck of a lot more pomp and circumstance surrounding it.
Right. And it won't be an add-in amongst a bunch of other things that he was saying. Right. And that's the point that he made in the press. He's like, look, I was talking about how we had this person was a minority, and this person, he talked about Kenny Lonergan as a woman and all this kind of stuff. And it was just like, oh, and by the way, Marcus Freeman's the next head coach of Notre Dame. Right. It made no sense from a context standpoint.
Yep.
I get the excitement that people had because there's a lot of people fired up about Marcus Freeman, and I get it, but just that wasn't
absolutely.
That wasn't
absolutely. All right.